So, once again, who has the heart of excellence? Let us learn to go forward to understand the the intertwining complexities of what is going on in this world at the moment. Now, one thing we have to realize, our demons work in ranks. So they work in hierarchy and they work strategically. Now, we have to understand that we are in a spiritual warfare. It is unbelievably clear that we are 100% in a spiritual warfare. Now, there are people who are hell bent on wanting to destruct the human society, make the human condition so depraved that they turn back to tribalism. And how do they do that? Well, they have to do it with an effective strategy. First of all, by controlling the mind of the people via the internet, via social media, via posts. You see, everyone is in on it. Everyone who is in control, the one presenters, they are in on it. Now, if you look at the wall, there's a wall that is quoted to have the ideal population number 500 million. So their objective is to bring this down to that number, the depopulation, basically. And they have to do it through emotion, because that is what drives human beings. Okay, that is what drives human beings, is the emotion. So when they post things that are very inflammatory, that will work with the spirit and the focus of a people, and they divide and conquer, you must remember that. Now, of course, there has always been issues between races and cultures. But now it's become so heavily corrupt and so heavily polarized between these races, particularly black and white. They are bringing in, see, the problem is they are not, how can I say, waylaid with the fact that this is a person from Ukraine. This is a person from Australia. This is a person from Sweden. As far as they're concerned, they look like them. So it doesn't matter how you are a patriot for a particular country. If they are that way inclined, then they will disregard your plea, your cry that, hold on, I am a British person, I am an African American. As far as they're concerned, you are not looking like them. And why is that? Well, because we are talking about genetics also, and the right to survive. You know, for example, a cancer disease wants to survive. And when you start to see it in that sense, that it also wants to survive, and it will do all it can, including decease the host. This is what these people are. They are a cancer to society. That, can they change? Well, of course, anyone can change. Anyone can see the light and work as one. But the chances of them seeing that is probably zero, because they are hell-bent on genetic survival. Now, who is the greatest threat to, for example, a Caucasoid person? Well, the greatest threat would be anyone who is not of that hue, and particularly someone with a darker hue with strong dark genes. This is how they see things, through genetic survival. And so what happens is, we are the first target because we are the ones who bring the most threat to their genetic survival. This is a huge, huge problem, because when they see that if they can get rid of this threat, then they have a chance to prolong their genetic timescale, if you like. Can we all get on? Of course we can all get on. How do we do that? Well, very simplistic view is we just realize that we are spirits as opposed to flesh. See, when we are flesh, we take focus, and our main focus is on things that do not look like us, that we are, somewhat better, that we want to look better, that we want nice things, that we don't care about anybody else. And this is how, for example, this huge Holocaust happened, and this is probably one of the most minimal casualties in all the atrocities and the genocides that has taken place in the beginning of time. How can we deal with this? Well, we should start by talking to each other, because with their rhetoric, and if you notice that media is the devil's backyard. He plays in people's emotions and gets people all riled up. How do we deal with this? Well, it's irresponsible and unrealistic for a person to go back to their country, or this famous quote, usual suspects, deport them. Now, this is a very, very complicated situation that we have put ourselves in, partly to blame also with these who brought us in, and the transatlantic slave trade. These things, this is the residue from the hate and the wickedness that was done in the past. It's just the residue. You have to accept it. And so now you have huge amounts of people who do not look like them coming in, which I believe personally has been propagated by the governments who join together and want to create this. And I believe, because who controls the governments, who controls the media, who controls all these things? Now, I'm all about bringing peace, but with logic. So logic suggests to me that there is no way you can separate a person coming in. You have mixed families, you have people coming in from, even you who claim to be 100% white probably are not. Why? Because your foreparents, got with, the indigenous people of the land and procreated. So there is no pure Aryan, if you like, race, which is an extremely weak genetic mutation anyway. So the only way to get from step A to step B in peace is to have a conversation. That is the only way anything will work, because casualties of war are so horrible. Believe me, I've seen it. It is not nice. Everyone suffers and everyone effectively loses. That is the situation that we are in and that we find ourselves in. Now, I want to say this. We can come together. We as Christians can come together. That's what it should be first and foremost, is as a Christian, as a man and woman of God. This is what it should actually work out as being the best solution that we can lay on the table. Because then it becomes more clear. We know that you are a Christian. And what is a Christian's value is to love, to cherish, to be kind to each other, to respect your elders, respect your neighbors, love thyself, and just be kind and live happily and abide by the rules of the Bible. Now, Christianity comes in different colors. Everyone can be a Christian, okay? Even the branches and even the vines and the tree. We can all be Christians. And that is my urge to you, especially the American people who believe in God first. Warring will never answer any questions. Will never answer any questions. And bear in mind the residual hate from generations to come. Look, take for example, a prime example, Ukraine and Russia. Now, even though that war ends, the residual hate will never stop for generations and generations. Palestine, Israel, generations, generations. We have to nip this in the bud now. Even you right-wing Nazi supporters, you have to look at logic. And you have to find first and foremost who you are fighting for. Who are you fighting for? Because first of all, they who are on top, we're the first threat. But I tell you, if that number does go down to 500,000, that means 80% of the population must go. Let that sink in. We are the first threat, but then you are also a threat to their civilization. And so I urge you to think it's not about black or white. Because guess what? I've worked and been in highest places where the blacks and whites work together in harmony. These people are bamboozling you. They are tricking you into destroying each other. Because where I work, in the circles where I work, the people work in harmony and have the same agenda, and that is to bring you and me down. And most of you guys are a threat. And most of you guys financially are struggling. And they work on that. Only the poor fight the poor. The rich live in harmony. Let's try and find a way before we regret everything that we have done on this beautiful